Welcome back to the reading of Lily's Introduction to Astrology. Before we get into it, before we get too far into it, please help support the channel by giving the video a like and subscribing if you want to. We will be reading through chapters 7 through 11, basically covering the rest of the planets and their natures. And then in the next video, we will take a look at the North Node, South Node, Herschel or Uranus, and a little bit more detail going into the planets. But for now, let's get into it. Oh, and also before we get started, leave me a little comment letting me know what one of your strong interests was when you were a kid, whether you still have it today or not. But you know how there's always those things about like kids who are obsessed with Egyptology, or the kids who are obsessed with dinosaurs or space or trains and cars and all of those things, dragons, stuff like that. So if you had any particular, dogs, animals, so if you had any particular strong interests when you were a kid, I would love to know what yours was. I was a Egyptology child. I had that big gold book that had, I think, the eagle on the front and that red plastic gem, and then in it allegedly had a little piece of mummification linen. That was so cool. Chapter 7 of the planet Mars and his several signifactions. Mars does, in order, succeed Jupiter, is less in body, and appears to our sight of a shining, fiery, sparkling color. He finishes his course in the zodiac in 1 year, 321 days, and 22 hours. His greatest latitude north is about 4 degrees 31 minutes. His south, 6 degrees 47 minutes, and is retrograde 80 days, stationary 2 or 3. He governs wholly the watery triplicity, those being Cancer, that being Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And I did not expect that. I did not expect Mars, the fiery planet, to be associated with Cancer or Pisces. I know it's the ruler for Scorpio, but that was surprising to me to read. Nature. He is a masculine nocturnal planet in nature. Nocturnal planet in nature, hot and dry, choleric and fiery. The lesser in fortune, author of quarrels, strifes, and contentions. Manners, when well dignified, include describe that in feats of war and courage, invincible, scorning that any should exceed him, subject to no reason, bold, confident, immovable, contentious, challenging all honor to themselves, valiant, lovers of war and things pertaining thereto, hazarding himself in all perils, unwilling to obey or submit to anybody, a boaster of his own acts, one that slights all things in comparison of victory, and yet of prudent behavior in his own affairs. When ill dignified, then he is a prattler without modesty or honesty, a lover of slaughter and quarrels, murder, thievery, a promoter of sedition, frays, and commotions, a highway thief as wavering as the wind, a traitor, of turbulent spirit, perjured, obscene, rash, inhuman, neither fearing God nor caring for man, unthankful, treacherous, oppressors, ravenous, cheaters, furious, and violent. And our editor takes a note at the bottom saying, these extremely evil qualities obtain only when the moon and Mercury are also very much afflicted, so not all Mars people. Corporature. Generally, martialists have this form. They are but of middle stature, their bodies strong, and their bones large, rather lean than fat, their complexion of a brown, ruddy color, their visage round, their hair rather sandy, and many times crisping or curling, sharp, hazel, piercing eyes, a bold, confident countenance, and they are active and fearless. When Mars is oriental to the sun, he signifies valiant men, some white mixed with their redness. I think he goes on to explain like what that all means. It has to do with the humors in a way, or their complexion, like whether they're like more like how much their face blushes, or like how dull their face might be, or how golden their face might be, like, you know, when it like kind of glows, not like a vampire, but you know. Inclined to be tall and of a hairy body. When occidental to the sun, there's a very ruddy complexion, but low stature, little head, smooth body, and not hairy. Yellow hair, stiff, and the natural humors generally more dry. Qualities of men in their professions. Generals of armies, colonels, captains, or any soldiers having command in armies, all manner of soldiers, physicians, apothecaries, surgeons, chemists, gunners, butchers, marshals, sergeants, bailiffs, hangmen, thieves, smiths, bakers, armorers, watchmakers, tailors, cutlers of swords and knives, barbers, dyers, cooks, carpenters, gamesters. What's up, gamesters? Bear wards, tanners, and couriers, according as Mars may be strong or weak. Diseases. The gall, tertian fevers, pestilent burning fevers, megrims in the head, maybe that's migraines, carbuncles, the plague. Oh, I looked that up the last time I tried recording this, and I think carbuncles or carbuncles, I don't know, are kind of like basically boils, like patches of boils. Gross. The plague and all plague sores, burnings, ringworms, blisters, frenzies, mad sudden distempers in the head, yellow jaundice, bloody flux, fistulas, all wounds and diseases in men's genitals, the stone both in the veins and bladder, scars or smallpox in the face. And it says Mars coming to ill aspect of the ascendant by direction early in nativities generally causes either smallpox, measles, or scarlet fever, but if the nativity denote it, he may be the one who gives hurts, wounds, fevers, and etc. Mars causes all hurts by iron, the shingles, and such other diseases as arise by too much choler, anger, or passion. Places associated with Mars are the smiths' shops, furnaces, slaughterhouses, places where bricks or charcoal are burned or have been burned, chimneys and forges, and also cutlers' shops and places where iron is manufactured in any manner, armories, etc. The orb for Mars is only 7 degrees. Years. In man he governs. In man, he governs the flourishing time of youth, and from 41 to 56. His greatest year is 264, greater 66, lower 40, and least 15. Countries: Sarmatia, Lombardy, Batavia, Ferraria, and Gothland. Chapter 8 of the Sun, his general and particular signifactions. The sun is placed in the middle of all the planets, continually visible to all mortal men. He passes through all the 12 signs of the zodiac in 1 year. His mean motion is 59 minutes 8 seconds, yet his diurnal motion is sometimes 57 minutes 16 seconds, sometimes more, but never exceeding 61 minutes and 6 seconds. He always moves in the ecliptic and is ever void of latitude. He has only the sign Leo for his house and Aquarius for his detriment. He is exalted in the 19th degree of Aries and receives his fall in 19 degrees Libra. The sun governs the fiery triplicity, those being Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius by day. He is always direct and never can be considered retrograde. In nature, he is naturally hot and dry, but more temperate than Mars. Is a masculine diurnal planet and equivalent, if well dignified, to a fortune. Manners when well dignified. Very faithful, keeping their promises with the greatest punctuality. A kind of itching desire to rule and sway wherever he comes. Prudent and of incomparable judgment. Of great majesty and stateliness. Industrious to acquire honor and a large patrimony, yet as willing to spend it again. The solar man usually speaks with gravity, but not many words, and these with great confidence and command of his own feelings. Full of thought, secret, trusty, speaks deliberately, and notwithstanding his great heart, he is affable, tractable, and very humane to all people. One loving sumptuousness and magnificence, and whatever is honorable. No sordid thoughts can enter his heart. When ill-dignified, then the solar man is arrogant and proud, disdaining all men, boasting of his pedigree. He is pure-blind in sight and judgment, restless, troublesome, domineering, a mere vapor, expensive, foolish, endowed with no gravity in words or soberness in actions. A spendthrift, wasting his patrimony and hanging on other men's charity. Yet he thinks all men are bound to him because a gentleman born. Courbature. Usually the sun represents a man of a good, large, and strong courbature. A yellow saffron complexion, a round, large forehead, large goggle eyes, sharp and piercing. A body strong and well composed. Not so beautiful as lovely, full of heat, with hair yellowish, and therefore quickly bald. Much hair on their beard, and usually a high, ruddy complexion. Their bodies fleshy. In disposition, they are very bountiful, honest, sincere, well-minded, of good heart. Healthful constitution, very humane, yet sufficiently spirited, and not loquacious. And the sun really can't be Oriental or Occidental because it's just the sun. We can only say the sun is Oriental in the figure or in an Oriental quarter of the figure, or same being said for Occidental, etc. And then at the bottom it says, in nativities, the sun and moon are Oriental between the 1st and 10th houses. And in the opposite quarter of the figure, they are Occidental between the 10th and 7th houses, and in the opposite quarter. But in horary questions, they are Oriental between the 4th and 10th, and Occidental after leaving the 10th until they reach the 4th. Oriental when rising, and Occidental when setting. Quality of men and their professions. He signifies kings, princes, emperors, and the like, duke, marquises, earls, barons, lieutenants, deputy lieutenants of counties, magistrates, gentlemen in general, courtiers, desirers of honor and preferment, justices of peace, mayors, high sheriffs, high constables, stewards of noblemen's houses, the principal magistrate of any city, town, castle, or country village, yea, even a petty constable where no better is, goldsmiths, braziers, pewterers, coppersmiths, and minters of money, sicknesses, pimples in the face, palpitation or trembling, diseases of the brain and heart, infirmities of the eyes, cramps, sudden swoonings, diseases of the mouth and impure breath, catarrhs, putrid fevers. Principally in man he governs the heart and brain, in women the vital spirit, and denotes hysterics. Places. Houses or courts of princes, palaces, theaters, all magnificent structures being clean and decent, halls and dining rooms. The sun's orb is 15 degrees. In age, he rules youth, or when one is at the strongest. His greatest years are 1,460, greater 120, lesser 69, and least 19. For that it says, it is a very remarkable fact that this period is the Sothic or canicular year of the Egyptians, whence it is pretty evident that these astrological doctrines came originally from that people and are, in fact, of the very highest antiquity. I wonder if that was before they had more information about Mesopotamian, like pre-Egypt. I'm not going to try to pretend that I know about like ancient history, but I do remember learning a little bit about like Babylonian and Chaldean astrology, and it has a lot more to do with those groups than with the Egyptians. But I don't know. Chapter 9 of the planet Venus and her several signifactors and nature. After the sun succeedeth Venus, color in the element. She is of a bright, shining color, and is well known by the name of the evening star, or Hesperus, and that is when she appears after the sun is set. She is commonly called the morning star, but by the learned Lucifer when she is seen long before the rising of the sun. Her mean motion is 59 minutes and 8 seconds. Her diurnal motion is sometimes 62 minutes a day, and 82 minutes she never exceeds. Her greatest latitude is 9 degrees 2 minutes. She is retrograde 42 days and stationary 2. Her year is 224 days and 7 hours. She is a feminine planet, temperately cold and moist, nocturnal, the lesser fortune, author of mirth and cheerfulness. She is the planet of whimsy and joy, manners and quality when well dignified. She signifies a quiet man, not given to law, quarrel, or wrangling, not vicious, pleasant, neat, and spruce, loving mirth in his words and actions, cleanly in apparel, rather drinking much than gluttonous, prone to venery, often entangled in love matters, zealous in their affections, musical, delighting in baths and all honest merry meetings, or amusements and theatricals, easy of belief and not given to labor or take any pains. Relatable. A company keeper, cheerful, nothing mistrustful, a right virtuous man or woman, often jealous yet without cause. When ill-dignified, then he is riotous, expensive, wholly given to dissipation and lewd companies of women, nothing regarding his reputation, coveting unlawful beds. An adulterer, fantastical, a mere skipjack of no faith, no repute, no credit, spending his means in alehouses, taverns, and among scandalous, loose people. A mere lazy companion, nothing careful of the things of this life or anything religious. Corporature. A man of fair but not tall stature, his complexion being white tending to a little darkness, which says this signifies a pale or wan complexion but with dark hue. I don't understand. Which makes him more lovely, very fair, lovely eyes, and sometimes black eyes, a round face and not large, fair hair, smooth and plenty of it, and it is usually of a light brown color, a lovely mouth and cherry lips, the face pretty fleshy, a rolling, wandering eye, a body very delightful, lovely, and exceedingly well-shaped. One desirous of trimming and making himself neat and complete both in clothes and body, a love dimple in his cheeks, a steadfast eye, and full of amorous enticements. This says those who have Venus strong either in their nativities or as their signifactors in questions invariably have dimples either in the cheek or chin, and that is true. I do have a Venus. I have a Taurus rising, so my ruling planet is Venus. So, and I have a dimple on one cheek, I think. So astrology confirmed. When Oriental, the body inclines to tallness or a kind of upright straightness in person, not corpulent or very tall, but neatly composed. A right Venus person is a pretty, complete, handsome man or woman. When she is Occidental, the man is more short in stature, yet very decent and comely in shape and form, well liked of all. Quality of persons and employments. Musicians, gamesters, silkmen, mercers, linen drapers, painters, jewelers, players, lapidaries, embroiderers, women tailors, wives, mothers, virgins. What's your job title? Oh, I'm a virgin. Choristers, fiddlers, pipers, when joined with the moon, ballad singers, perfumers, seamstresses, picture drawers, engravers, upholsterers, limners, glovers, and such as sell those commodities which adorn women, either in body as clothes or in face as complexion waters. I'm gonna start calling makeup complexion water. Where's my complexion water? Sicknesses, diseases by her, are principally in the matrix and members of a generation. In the reins, belly, back, navel, and those parts, the gonorrhea or running of the reins, lues venerea, or any disease arising from inordinate lust, priapism, impotency, ingeneration, hernias, etc., the diabetes, or an involuntary discharge of urine. Her orb is 7 degrees. Her greatest years are 151. Her greatest years are 151. Her greater 82. Her mean 45. And her least 8. In man, she governs youth from 14 to 28. Countries associated with Venus are Arabia, Austria, Campania, Vienna, Polonia the Greater, Turin, Parthia, Media, and Cyprus. It says these observations are retained from respect to our author, but we must repeat that it is Taurus and Libra, the houses of Venus, which governs these places. Okay, Chapter 10. Of Mercury and his signifaction, nature, and property. Mercury is the least of all planets, never distant from the sun above 28 degrees, by which reason he is seldom visible to our sight. So, yes, Mercury is never more than 28 degrees from the sun, which means that Mercury can only be in either the same sign as the sun at a given point, or the sign before or the sign after. So it can only be in the three consecutive signs. Color and motion. He is of a dusky silver color. His mean motion is 59 minutes and 8 seconds, but he is sometimes so swift that he moves above 1 degree and 40 minutes in 1 day. He is stationary 1 day, retrograde 24 days. His year is 87 days and 23 hours. Latitude. His greatest south latitude is 3 degrees 35 minutes. Greatest north latitude 3 degrees and 33 minutes. Nature. We may not call him either masculine or feminine, for he is either the one or the other as joined to any planet. We love non-binary representation in astrology. For when Mercury is in conjunction with a masculine planet, he becomes masculine. If with a feminine planet, then feminine. But of his own nature, he is cold and dry, and therefore melancholy. With the good, he is good. With the evil planets ill, he is author of subtlety, tricks, devices, perjury, and the like. When well dignified, he represents a man of a subtle and political brain and intellect, an excellent disputant or logician, arguing with learning and discretion, and using much eloquence in his speech, a searcher into all kinds of mysteries and learning, sharp and witty, learning almost anything without a teacher, ambitious of being exquisite in every science, desirous naturally to travel and see foreign parts, a man of an unwearied fancy, curious in the search of any occult knowledge, able by his own genius to produce wonders, given to divination and the more secret knowledge. If he turn merchant, no man exceeds him in way of trade. His speech level is 100. Or in invention of new ways whereby to obtain wealth. Manners, when ill-dignified, has a troublesome wit, a kind of frenetic man, his tongue and pen against every man, wholly bent to fool his estate and time in loquacity and trying nice conclusions to no purpose. A great liar, boaster, prattler, busybody, false, a tale-carrier, addicted to wicked arts as necromancy and such like ungodly knowledges, easy of belief, an ass or very idiot, constant in no place or opinion, cheating and thieving everywhere, a newsmonger, pretending all manner of knowledge, but void of true or solid learning, a trifler, a mere frantic fellow. If he prove a divine, then a mere verbal fellow, frothy, of no judgment, easily perverted, constant in nothing but idle words and bragging. Corporature. Generally, he denotes one of a high stature and straight, thin, spare body, of high forehead and somewhat narrow long face, long nose, fair eyes, neither perfectly black nor gray, thin lips and nose, little hair on the chin, but much on his head, and of a sad brown hair inclining to blackness, so dark brown sad hair. Long arms, fingers, and hands, his complexion like an olive or chestnut color. You must observe Mercury more than all the planets, for having any aspects to a planet, he partakes more of the influence of that planet than any other does. So it's very changeable. If with Saturn, then heavy. With Jupiter, more temperate. With Mars, more rash. With the Sun, more genteel. With Venus, more jesting. With Moon, more changeable. When Oriental, his complexion is honey color, or like one sunburnt. In the stature of his body, not very high, but well-jointed. Small eyes, not much hair. In very truth, according to the height of the body, very well composed, but still a defect in the complexion. Swarthy brown, and in the tongue for all his own interest. When Occidental, a tawny visage, lank body, small slender limbs, hollow eyes, either sparkling red or fiery, the whole frame of body inclining to dryness. Stay moisturized, my Mercurians. Quality of men and professions. He generally signifies all literary men, philosophers, mathematicians, astrologians, especially if Mercury is in good aspect to Herschel or Uranus, merchants, secretaries, writers, sculptors, poets, orators, advocates, schoolmasters, stationers, printers, exchangers of money, attorneys, ambassadors, commissioners, clerks, artificers, generally accomplants, solicitors, sometimes thieves, prattling ministers, busy secretaries, and they unlearned, grammarians, tailors, carriers, messengers, footmen, usurers, sickness, all vertigos, lethargies, or giddiness in the head, madness, either lightness or any disease of the brain, physic, PHTHISIC. I looked this up the other day when I was trying to read this the first time, but I forgot what it means. So, physic, a wasting illness of the lungs such as asthma or tuberculosis or consumption, any wasting disease. I see. All stammering and imperfection in the tongue, vain and fond imaginations, all defects in the memory, mood, hoarseness, dry coughs, too great abundance of spittle. Can I make that an ASMR word? Spittle, 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 spittle. It's so stupid. All snaffling and snuffling in the head or nose. You guys have no idea. Maybe you do, I don't know. Have no idea how many goddamn sniffles and sniffling and snuffling I have to cut out when I'm editing these videos. Like, oh my god. Maybe I'll make a Patreon tier for like those of you who for some reason enjoy that sound. I don't know if any people like that exist, but like I don't know. The hand and feet gout, dumbness, foul or diseased tongue. I wonder if foul or diseased tongue, like, that could be related to, like, you know, having a gross infected tongue, but it could also be something like verbal tics or Tourette's or something. All evils in the fancy and intellectual parts. What? His orb is 7 degrees, his greatest years are 450, his greater 76, his mean 48, his little or least 20. Countries, he has Grecia, I'm just gonna say Greece, Flanders, Egypt, of towns, Paris. And chapter 11 of the moon, her properties and signifactions. The moon we find called by the ancients Lucina, Cynthia, Diana, Phoebe, Latona, Noctiluca, Prosperina. She is nearest to the earth of all the planets. Motion. She terminates her course through the whole 12 signs in 27 days, 7 hours, 43 minutes, and 5 seconds. Her mean motion is 13 degrees, 10 minutes, and 36 seconds, but she moves sometimes less and sometimes more, never exceeding 15 degrees and 12 minutes in 24 hours' time. Her greatest north latitude is 5 degrees and 17 minutes. Her greatest south latitude is 5 degrees and 12 minutes. She is never retrograde, but when she is slow in motion and goes less in 24 hours than 13 degrees 11 minutes, she is then equivalent to a retrograde planet. Her nature is that of a feminine nocturnal planet, cold, moist, and phlegmatic. Manners when well placed or dignified. She signifies one of composed manners, a soft, tender creature, a lover of all honest and ingenious sciences, a searcher of and delighter in novelties, naturally inclined to flit and shift his habitation, unsteadfast, wholly caring for the present times, timorous, prodigal, and easily frightened, loving peace, however, and to live free from the cares of this life. If a mechanic, the man learns many occupations and frequently will be tampering with many ways to trade in. When ill, they are a mere vagabond, idle person, hating labor, a drunkard, a sot, one of no spirit or forecast, delighting to live beggarly and carelessly, one content in no condition of life, either good or ill. So he's just always just a negative Nancy. Corporature. She generally presents a man of fair stature, whitely colored, the face round, grey eyes and a little lowering, much hair both on the head, face, and other parts, usually one eye a little larger than the other, short hands and fleshy, the whole body inclining to be fleshy, plump, corpulent, and phlegmatic. If she be impedited of the sun in a nativity or question, she usually signifies some blemish in or near the eye. A blemish near the eye if she be impedited in succeedent houses. In the sight if she be unfortunate in angles and with fixed stars called nebulae. Nebula? Qualities of men and women. She signifies queens, countesses, ladies, all manner of women, as also the common people, travelers, pilgrims, sailors, fishermen, fishmongers, brewers, tapsters, publicans, letter carriers, coachmen, huntsmen, messengers, mariners, millers, maltsters, drunkards. I love that. That's like an occupation, or like listed among occupation. Oyster wives, fishwomen. How do you become an oyster wife or a fishwoman? Like, listen, I get that they work with shellfish and or bivalves or whatever and fish, but like oyster wife and fishwomen just sounds really funny to me. Charwomen, tripe women, and generally such women as carry commodities in the streets, as also midwives, nurses, and the like, hackneymen, watermen, and water bearers. Generally, it can be about all persons who are connected with liquids in their occupation, if you didn't get the gist. Sickness. Apoplexies, palsy, the colic, the stomach ache, diseases in the left side, the bladder, and members of generation. We should start calling, down there, members of generation. That's like really funny. The menstrues and liver in women, dropsies, flexes of the belly, all cold rheumatic diseases, cold stomach, the gout in the wrists and feet, sciatica, worms, hurts in the eyes, surfeits, rotten coughs, convulsive fits, the falling sickness, king's evil, abscess, smallpox, and measles. The orb for the moon is 12 degrees. Her greatest years are 320, greater 108, mean 66, least 25. And for countries, we have Holland, Zealand, Denmark, Nuremberg, and Flanders. And that is the rest of the planets for now. This was, I think, a shorter one. Not really. Not really. But I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that, let me know what you think about the narrating, the reading style in this one. I'm doing a little bit less of the kind of whispering, kind of soft speaking. It's kind of hard to maintain either one. If I try to go too quiet, then it strains my vocal cords, but then if I speak more loudly, I guess, it also strains my vocal cords. I'm not used to talking this much, and I've been recording every day because I just want to get a head start on this whole channel, and I don't know, I kind of want to post nearly every day until I reach a certain point, preferably, monetization. I really enjoy doing this, but obviously, a guy needs to pay bills too, so I really enjoy this though, and I like that it kind of gives me a reason, an opportunity, motivation to actually read something instead of just listening to YouTube all day. So if you're still here, thanks for listening. I hope you learned something. I hope you found entertainment, peace, relaxation, and the like. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.